Welcome to a Monday live stream here at the Jayda and Stitches show. I am so happy that you could all be here. I am so happy that you like to spend your Mondays stitching along with me. Welcome back to the fourth granny square in our Boho 3D series of no-sew granny squares. So this whole thing started with this sunflower granny square. We then added a pumpkin granny square. Recently, last week, we did, actually it was a couple weeks ago, no, it was last Monday, we did this acorn granny square. And I sort of sneak peeked the fact that we had another one coming. I've got a leaf. I really like the way this one looks. The veins that I added are super basic embroidery, and you can opt to include them or not. And if you pick up the written pattern, which is in our Etsy shop, it's also on sneaky sale, or at least it should be. And if it's not, I'm going to go make sure that happens right now. If you pick up the pattern, don't buy it until I put it on sneaky sale. I've got so many things on the go here. It also includes a little way to add veins using the surface chaining method. So there's a couple of options there if you want to actually put veins in your leaf. I'm going to do it today with, I'm going to do the leaf with this multicolored yarn. I kind of mentioned maybe doing multicolored yarn for the leaf last week, I guess. I wanted to sort of see what it looked like. I hadn't tried it yet, and a lot of you thought that would be a really fun idea. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. And I've got the usual green for the background. I'll give you exactly what you need in terms of numbers. I think it's about 15 to 20 yards for your main leaf color and around 30 yards for your background color. I'm, as usual, using a size 4 medium weight acrylic yarn. And, don't mind me, I'm doing two things at once here. There we go, almost done. I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook. It's the usual one. It's an I or a 9. And pair of scissors, yarn needle, the usual. I've also got a little bit of yarn here that I can do a vein with. So I'm going to use whichever one of these I think stands out the best against this multicolored yarn. And that is it. Okay, sneaky sale is up and running. Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Monday. Here we go. We are going to start just like we did with the last ones. It's a cinch circle to begin. If you don't like cinch circles or they give you trouble, we've got help in the form of tutorials linked in the description box down below. Plus, I'm also tossing things around here. Plus, you can use one of the 3 substitutions that we've got. So we've also got a video on substitutions. So if you really don't like the cinch circle or you just struggle with it, you can sort of slip past that by using one of the substitutions in that video we've got linked in the description box down below as well. Okay, I do not want to start with my background color. I want to start with my leaf color. I've got green on the brain. I am looking out the window at a riot of colorful leaves at the moment, everybody. So if I seem a little distracted, it's because I, 1, haven't had enough coffee, 2, was just chasing the dog around, and 3, I'm looking at so much color that my little brain can't compute it all. So thank you all for being here. Let's get started. A little sip of coffee, and here we go. Going to start with a cinch circle. The cinch circle uses a chain to secure it. That is the first of 3 chains. Chain 2 more. That chain 3 will count as a double crochet for the first row in this little pattern. We are going to work 11 more double crochets into the cinch circle. And I really like this ever-changing. I think this, I've used this yarn before. It's a Red Heart Super Saver, and I'm pretty sure it's called Forest Floor. I don't have the label for it any longer. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 more. All right, so a chain 3 counts as a double crochet. With 11 double crochets in the cinch circle, you've got 12. You can cinch the whole thing up nice and snug, and you're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. So we are using the chain 3 for row 1. And that does give us a nice solid round circle. For row 2, we're going to chain 3 and double crochet into the same place that we joined, and you can pull up and see that little space. That's where you joined. Double crochet right in there. If you like, you can grab a stitch marker and put a stitch marker on the false stitch. So the false stitch isn't always super easy to see. Right here, it's the little stitch that sits to the base of the chain 3. To the right, if you're working right-handed, to the left, if you're working left-handed. It's really, really tiny because I made a sort of a snug little join. So I'm going to just put my stitch marker on it. 2 double crochet in each stitch all the way around until you get up to that slip stitch. So the false stitch is also the slip stitch join from the previous row. When you're working in the round, you get a false stitch when you join a row when you're working in the round. Happy birthday to all of the September, I should say October babies now. Good Lord, we're in October, almost a week now. On Friday, we had our October unblanket video, and some of you have already been sending in your October unblankets to the Etsy shop. Thank you so much for the photos. They are so pretty, and I will be sharing those all near the end of this month. It's hard to believe that we are zooming through 2025 as quickly as we are. It looks like Marie is doing math again. All right, I'll try once again not to count out loud too much, Marie. I don't want to confuse your brain. I'm so glad so many of you are here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so we are finishing up row 2, 2 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. And of course, we had 12 stitches in the previous row. So we want to make sure we have 24 stitches at the end of this row. And I'm going to just get my little stitch marker out of the way. I know where I'm at. This was the last actual stitch. That brings me up to the base of the chain 3. There's my little false stitch right there. I want to double crochet into it once because we're not using the chain 3. So we're going to skip the chain 3 and join with a slip stitch to that first real double crochet. There should be 24 stitches. I'm going to take a moment to count. So that's 1. Oh, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 20, 22, 24. Yep, 24, not including the chain 3. Chain 3 just kind of becomes filler. And that is it for row 2. Here's where we differ a little bit. So in the previous versions of our boho granny squares, we would finish that row and fasten off. We would finish that row and that would be the end of it. Or we would do another row of internal color. We're not going to do that. We're going to pull up on our loop. We are not cutting our yarn. So very important. We are not cutting our yarn. We want to just take that loop and the working yarn and pull it to the front. So pull it to the front. Grab your background color. We're going to continue and put in the background now, but we don't want to cut our leaf color. We're going to use it later right from where it is. So here we go. A little sip of coffee. Welcome, 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 welcome everybody. If you're just arriving, we are making the boho leaf. This is the 4th granny square in this series of boho no-sew 3-dimensional looking patterns. So there's a little bit of like I haven't woven in my tails, but there's a little bit of like embroidery mess to the back. So if you don't like the way that looks because you think you're going to be looking at the back of your square a lot, then you can skip the veins. I am going to show you how to do this, but you can also make your leaf. Your leaf looks perfectly fine. It's obviously a leaf shape. You don't have to include the veins. But if you're doing it with multiple colors or a tweedy stitch, that will kind of negate the necessary, you won't have to add anything extra. But this is super fast embroidery and I like the way it looks, so I thought I would include that today too. All right, here we go. If you're working right-handed, you want to join your yarn with a slip stitch, back loops only for this row. So the back loop of the stitch is the loop furthest from you. Slip your hook under it, join your background color with a slip stitch and pause. If you're working left-handed, it'll be on the other side. So you'll be joining on the other side. We're going to chain 3 and we're going to double crochet in the same back loop only as joining. So chain 3, double crochet in the same back loop as joining. You do not want to use, so you either want to use the false stitch or you want to use the stitch that you joined in. Okay, so remember, I like to do this just because it kind of gets it all out of the way, but you either use this stitch, actually, you know what? Just to make it a little less confusing, I will join my yarn with a back loop only in the false stitch. So you can use the stitch just before the false stitch. You can use the back loop only of the false stitch, but then you're skipping the stitch you joined in. Remember, because we have an extra stitch, whenever you join a row, when you're working in the round, you get an extra stitch, and it's the slip stitch. Sometimes we call it the false stitch. So you want to use at least one of them. So I'm going to join chain 3 and double crochet, back loop only of the false stitch. I'm keeping my working loop of leaf color to the front. I'm keeping the yarn to the front, and I am skipping over top of the stitch that I joined the row in. And if I pull up on it, you can see it there. That's the stitch I joined in. I'm skipping that. I'm going to the next stitch. I'm going to double crochet once into the back loop only of that next stitch. I'm working over my short tail. That allows me to sort of cinch things together. And once you've done that, your working loop and your leaf color yarn should all be to the front. So very important. Here we go. Back loops only for this entire row. Double crochet 2 times into the next stitch. Back loop only once, double crochet into the next stitch. So 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around. I'm going to keep the numbers as quiet as possible so I don't confuse Marie while she works on math. All right, here we go. 2 double crochet, back loops only into the next stitch. Back loops only, double crochet into the next stitch. So it's back loops only this entire row, because what we want to do is have the front loops available to use for the rest of the leaf going forward. But we are still continuing to increase, so 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around. 2 double crochet, and you're using the back loops. 1 double crochet. We're going to go from 24 stitches to 36 at the end of this row. Once again, the chain 3 isn't going to count. We are just going to skip over it. I seem to have split my yarn. There we go. Hello, hello everybody. If you're just joining us, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. I'm so glad you could be here. We've got some people celebrating birthdays. We've got some people practicing math homework. Hello, everybody. We've got Joanna and Dawn and Debbie and Marianne. Magic Frog Crochet. Love it. So I'm just going to take a pause and count up what I've got so far. 3, 6, 9. So up to 29 stitches so far. That makes number 30, back loops only. Keeping that other yarn to the front. And the last stitch should land me right next to the chain 3 that I began the row with. So stitch number 36 lands right here, but I don't want to use the chain 3, so I'm going to double crochet into the same stitch as I joined. So the same stitch that I joined in, and then I'm skipping the chain 3. I'm joining with a slip stitch to the first real double crochet. So let's get my yarn untangled here. Okay, so this is what we should be looking at. You've just finished row 3. You have 36 stitches. That doesn't include your chain 3 because the chain 3 does not count for rows 2 or 3 of this pattern. Your leaf yarn is still attached Your working loop and your working yarn for that color are pulled to the front. You know this is the front of the square because you're looking at the front loops only left behind on row 2. This is where we're going to continue working on our leaf later. You've added your background color. You've finished one full row of increase. You're at 36 stitches in your background color. Now we're going to square it up. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to say hello to Colleen. Welcome to Alpaca. Welcome to the family. Thank you for joining, Colleen. I'm going to make sure that I can also see everybody's chitter chatter. I should be able to see everything here. Yes, good. Hello, hello. Dawn, Joanna, Hannah, Maeve, Caroline, Bethany. Everybody's here. Emilia. Hello, hello. Gloria, Mandy, BJ. Everybody's in the house. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Another little sip of coffee. Okay, let's go row 4. For row 4, we're going to square it up using our background color. So remember, just keep your leaf yarn to the front. Ignore it for now. Right from where we left off, we slip stitch to join that row. We're going to single crochet into the next stitch. Now remember the squaring up row, we go from the small to the tall, create a corner and go from the tall to the small. And that is how we square up a circle. Single crochet, half double crochet. We're using the full stitch now. Double crochet, and then an extended double crochet, or you can use a treble crochet if you want. Chain 2, that was small to the tall. Now we're going to go from the tall to the small. An extended double crochet or treble, whatever your pleasure is. Double crochet into the next stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, single crochet, and then slip stitch. And then we start all over again from the small to the tall. But that is corner number 1. Finished. You can sort of see your circle turning into a square. I always love to pause and pull out those corners. Okay. From the small to the tall, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, extended double crochet as we head into the corner, chain 2, and from the tall to the small, extended double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, and slip stitch. And that is corner number 2 complete. So you've got half of a square and half of a circle. From the small to the tall, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, and extended double crochet. Chain 2, extended double crochet, the tall to the small, double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, and slip stitch. And I'm going to keep my working yarn for the leaf out of the way. That's 3 corners done. And the final corner, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, extended double crochet, chain 2, extended double crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, and you're going to finish this row by slip stitching into the same place that you slip stitched the previous row. So right into that slip stitch. Lay it flat, pull out those corners. I love to do that. Now you can see that you've got a little square, and you should still have your leaf yarn to the front. You should still be looking at the front. You can tell it's the front because you've got those front facing loops from row 2 showing, and we've got 2 more rows to go. They are both just straight double crochet. So hello, Colleen. She's really enjoying the fall inspired videos. I'm so glad to hear that. We've got lots of more fall stuff coming. We've got, this is the fall. I mean, it is just chock full of fun now from here on out. You've got Thanksgiving, Halloween, and Christmas. And it's just, there's so much to make. There is so much fun to be had. There's so many cozy things to make, decor to make. It is just, I don't know, my gosh. It is. I always run out of time before I run out of ideas. So really enjoying these boho granny squares though with the fall theme. Last week somebody mentioned doing sort of Christmassy ones, and absolutely I've got a whole brain full of ideas for those. So if you guys like that, then maybe I'll do a whole series of like Christmassy or wintry ones too, because why not? I think this would be a really fun little miniature throw or wall hanging if you just wanted to make a couple each of these autumn squares. I think that would be really neat. They're all 7 inches roughly square. So that's if you use the size 4 yarn that I'm using and the 5.5 millimeter hook. Obviously, if you were using chunky yarn, bulky yarn, super bulky yarn, and a bigger hook, they would be much bigger squares. So you would need fewer of them in order to make like a throw. But I'd say, you know, if you were going to make, I'm not sure. So far, we've got 4 in this series. And by the time I'm finished this, I'll have 8. So already, if I were to lay them down, you know, in sets of 2, you'd have like, that's 14 inches across by, oh golly, 4 times 7, 28 inches. So, you know, that's a nice sized wall hanging, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. But I think if you made like 3 or 4 of each, and that's just using these 4 designs, that could be a nice little, you know, lap blanket. Granny squares are fun to make, and they make up quickly, and then all of a sudden you've got enough to make a small blanket though. Doesn't always have to be the size of a single bed, you know. Most of the time I think we like to kind of just sit in a chair or on the couch and just kind of have our laps covered. A little sip of coffee. Okay, here we go. Rows 5 and 6 are exactly the same. Chain 3 to begin. The chain 3 does count as a double crochet for rows 5 and 6. Double crochet into each stitch all the way up to the corner. From corner to corner at the end of row 4, you have 9 stitches between your chain 2 corners. So for row 5, you're adding 4 to each side. Instead of 9, we're going to have 13. And for row 6, instead of 13, we're going to have 17 stitches between corner spaces. Into the corner space, you work 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. And you can start counting across each side from this point. Those are the first 2 double crochet on the side. Always make sure you pull back so you don't miss the top of the next stitch. Double crochet in each of those 9 stitches, and then 2 double crochet into the corner before you chain 2 for the new corner. That will give you 13 stitches across each side. If you get lost or you're unsure, just stop, pause, make sure you've got 13 double crochets and a chain 2 space, 13 double crochets and a chain 2 space, 13 double crochets and a chain 2 space, etc. That's row 5. And then in row 6, it's 17 double crochets per side in between your chain 2 corners. Always, when you finish the 2 double crochet in that space, pull back, make sure you don't miss the top of the next stitch. That way you will not throw off your stitch count. And then it's just sort of turn your brain off and double crochet until you've finished row 6. This is row 5. And row 5 and row 6 are basically the same. If you wanted to make these squares bigger, and of course you could repeat row 6. So just keep up the same pattern, chain 3, double crochet in every stitch up to the corner, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the corner space, double crochet in every single stitch. And every row, your stitch count will increase by 4 per side, 16 stitches per row in total. And you can just keep repeating that. You can just keep making your squares larger. So you can go from having a 7-inch square to having an 8-inch square very easily. You can continue with the background color always being the same. You can break off the background color and make a row of double crochets in a different color to sort of frame them, give them a nice little border. So it's your typical granny square. You can change up the colors, add more rows to make it bigger, change the weight of the yarn and the size of the hook you're using, and that will upsize or downsize the square. So you have tons and tons of choices when it comes to these granny squares. Hello, hello, hello. Does anybody else notice us buffering? Dawn seems to think we're buffering. It could be on your end, Dawn. I'm not seeing any buffering over here. But that doesn't mean that it's not happening. So let me double check. I want to make sure I have 13, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 because it does count as a double crochet. If you're unsure, check that you've got 13 stitches between your chain 2 spaces on each side. That's row 5. Row 6, chain 3. Chain 3 counts as a double crochet into the next stitch, and in each stitch across to the corners are the same. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the corner, and it's just more turn your brain off double crochet work. Hi Vima! Vima's here. Colleen says her favorite blankets are lapgans. I also like the idea posted about using cotton yarn to make a table runner. Yes, yes, yes. Amanda and I were chatting about that a while ago. She was thinking about making a table runner using these. You could also, while we're on the subject, use thread if you are adventurous and don't mind thread in a small hook. You could absolutely hypersize these down to a nice thread size. And if you're going to use thread in a small hook, then that makes them sort of like flatter for, I don't know, just more lacy looking. They look so pretty in tiny form. And then of course you can stitch those together into a bit of a square doily if you want, and it can sit on a side table. You can absolutely use cotton and turn this into a table runner. I think that would be so festive on the Thanksgiving table. Love that idea. Caroline's, and you guys had a bad storm in the UK last night? It's the fall. Fall brings some crazy weather. It's so nice to see you guys here. This is just such a charming group. Two double crochet, chain two, two double crochet in the corners. 17 stitches per side in between your corners for row 6. And in case you're wondering, I do have today's pattern written up. It's in the Etsy shop. I did put it on sneaky sale, so you'll see it on sale. Also, I think we're running a little special series. So if you haven't been here in a while and you're just sort of popping back in, we're running a 3 or more sale. You can save like, I think it's 20% if you buy 3 or more patterns in our shop all this month. Just a little thank you for the frequent shoppers. But if you're here at the show, you're in the know. So today's sneaky sale is our latest boho granny square design. And thank you so much to everybody who's already picked up a copy. I really appreciate it. And there's Nancy Mac in the chat with a membership milestone. Thank you so much, Nancy. Nancy's been a member for 9 months. Hello. Glad you're here. Thank you. Becky's in the house. Wendy's here. Becky says, I've been here the whole time and I love this leaf. Well, say hello to your daughter, Becky. The nerve interrupting our live stream like that. Yes. There's Amanda. Hello. Okay, so make sure you do not accidentally use your false stitch because you are using your chain 3 as a double crochet. But if you're unsure, count. Make sure you have 17, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and the chain 3 makes 17 stitches per side. You've got your 2 chain 2 corners. That's it for the background. There's only 6 rows in total in the square. Unless you wanted to make it bigger, you could just keep repeating this row of double crochet. You could cut your yarn here, add a row of double crochet in a different color. You could add a row of single crochet if you just wanted something sort of a narrow little border. It's a granny square. There's just so many options for making them bigger or smaller. I'm going to take a moment to weave in that tail before I go any further. So we are halfway down our little square. Now we're going to go back and engage with the leaf color again and create the leaf. Hello, Victoria! So nice to see you guys hanging out with us. This is great. So many family members, so many regular subs. I'm just so happy to see you guys. Makes my Monday and the beginning of my week so wonderful. I really mean that. Mondays used to suck, and they're fun now. They're actually fun. All right, let's build a leaf. So this little yarn that we left out, the working yarn scoop, the loop, and the long tail, we're going to put our hooks back in, pull on that tail, and just sort of get ourselves ready to create a leaf. I'm going to have another little sip of my coffee. Beth is in the house. Hello, Beth. Beth has been a member for 22 months. Thank you, Beth. Beth says, happy Thanksgiving. Can't wait for fall here in Florida. Yes, I bet you it's still warm. You know what? It's actually a pretty warm day outside for us. After today's live stream, once I've finished putting in the chapters and making sure everything's taken care of, I'm going to go out and do a little more yard work because it is like a summer day out there. So Summer temperatures, fall colors. I don't think it gets better than that. Oh, Becky! Becky's just a membership gifted. Gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Becky, our sneaky little ninja. Ninja number 2. Swooping in. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And congratulations to Barb. Barb has won it. Congratulations, Barb. Thank you, Becky. Okay. Coffee sip. Joya's in the house. Hello, Joya. Here we go. I'm going to give myself a little bit of slack on my yarn. Make sure that it doesn't want to tangle on me. And we are going to go from, so we've got these 2 rows. So the first 2 rows are done. We're going to pick up and continue with a 3rd row of the leaf. And then we're really going to shape the leaf in row 4. All right. So here we go. Row 3, nice and simple. You're using those front facing loops that were left behind after you built background row 3. We are going to use the half double crochet stitch for row 3. We're going to chain 1 and half double crochet in the same stitch. And that's the stitch that we joined in. Half double crochet in the stitch after that. And now, like a typical little increase, we're going to go 2 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, all the way around. Pardon me hiccuping here. And you're using the front loops only. So we want to get to 36 stitches at the end of this row as well, but they're half double crochets instead of double crochets. Dawn, I think it's probably on your end. I don't see anybody else noticing buffering, and I'm not seeing it buffer here either. Hello, Marianne. Hello, Rita. Welcome, welcome, everybody. If you're just joining us, we're making the leaf today. And we're on row 3, which is leaf row 3. So we've done the whole square. Now we're going to go back and do the 3-dimensional leaf part. Front loops only. It's the only part of the loop that you can really use. And we're working 2 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, all the way around. We want 36 stitches. And I'm just going to pause and count. I find the easiest way to do this is to kind of keep bending the square so that it makes those loops easier to slip your hook through. And once you've finished your little repeating pattern of 2 1 2 1 half double crochet all the way around, you'll be back at the beginning. There's the false stitch or the join from row 2. You want to work a half double crochet into that false loop or the false stitch, and then join with a slip stitch to the first half double crochet, because remember you chained 1 to start the row, and you don't need to use the chain 1. You want to use, there it is, the half double crochet. So pause and make sure you've got 36 all the way around. You'll have a false stitch as well, which is this little slip stitch right here. But if you count all of your stitches, you should have 36 all the way around. And that is leaf row 3, half double crochets instead of double crochets. I'm just going to let this flatten out a little bit. And I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. Thank you, Vima. We are going to see how this multicolored yarn does work out. It definitely is giving, I mean, it's clearly giving fall vibes. I think this might create, I mean, I have seen some leaves on the lawn that are pretty crazy. They are partly green, they've got red, they've got orange, they've got yellow in them. So this isn't totally out of character. I think it's going to be well, we'll pick one. When I get to creating the vein in it, I'm going to show you how to do this little bit of embroidery. We'll decide whether I'm using the yellow or the orange. But that is yet to come. So we have one more row. This is the row that we shape our leaf in. This is leaf row 4. And I'm going to call it out as I go because every stitch is a little bit different. As you can see, this is row 1, row 2, row 3 we just finished, which is all half double crochet. And then from here, we really form the leaf. So everything that is kind of makes it look like a leaf, all that leaf shaping, the point, the stem, it's all done in this last row. So the stitches vary a little bit. And remember, this is also where the magic happens. Every so often, I'm going to say we attach. And when you're attaching sort of the stitches to the background of your granny square, before you finish the stitch, you're slipping your hook in underneath a front-facing loop on the square, yarn over and pulling back through everything. And that's how we attach it. And that's how we get away with not having to sew anything. And it looks like an applique on a granny square. But in fact, it is built directly into the granny square. Just loving this, having so much fun. Okay, here we go. Leaf row 4. I'm going to make sure that I have got my instructions as clear as possible because I want to read these out to you one stitch at a time. And I don't want to make any mistakes. So here we go. Chain 1 and single crochet right in the same place. So in the same stitch that you joined, you're going to pick up chain 1 and single crochet. But before we leave, we want to attach. So the first stitch we make, we also want to attach to the background. So start the single crochet, pull up a loop on your hook. So you've got your 2 loops, but lay everything down flat. See where it naturally lands, and then just slip your hook right through a front-facing loop on the granny square. So this is the background. I'm going to grab this loop right here. Come on. So now you've got your 2 loops. That's the single crochet and the working loop, or I should say the front-facing loop of the background. You've got your hook through it. And then, as though that never happened, you just yarn over like you normally would to crochet and pull back through everything. So you've only made a single crochet, but you've also attached it to the background. So it's a single crochet stitch. You can see that to the front, but you also sneakily attached it to the background. So that was stitch number 1 for leaf row 4. Whenever I say attach, that's how you're going to do it. You're going to just, before you finish the stitch, you slip your hook under a front-facing loop right where it naturally wants to land, and then yarn over and finish the stitch. We're going to single crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. So nice and simple. And as we start the 5th of those stitches, again, we're going to attach. So before you finish that 5th single crochet, lay it flat, see where it lands, not naturally wants to land, slip your hook underneath a front-facing loop, and then yarn over and finish the stitch. And that is attaching it to the background. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. Caroline says, I would consider an extra single crochet or slip stitch row in the orange/copper color for definition. Love that idea. If you take a look at the photographs that I've got on this in the shop, I kind of stitched up a partial version where I did the last row, row 4, in a completely different color. Because sometimes the leaves on our lawns, when they're changing, the inside has sort of changed or stayed the same, but the outside is what has kind of changed, probably because that's the extremity of the leaf. So I did a version of that where I actually made row 4 in a completely different color to sort of, I guess, show there are so many ways you can mess with this leaf to make it sort of different colored or to make it look interesting or to make it look more fallish. So that photograph is also part of the listing in the shop. So you can pop over and take a look at it. I don't actually have it in front of me. But you can see what I'm talking about over there in the shop. I've got the link to the shop pinned in the top of the chat there. Okay, so that was the 5th of those single crochets we joined or attached to the background. We're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches, half double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So before I get too further ahead, single crochet in the next 2 stitches, half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So now we're starting to really shape that leaf. Yes, Dawn, I'm using the 5.5mm hook. So 2 single crochet or a single crochet in the next 2 stitches, half double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and now we're going to go 2 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So here we go. 2 double crochet in the next stitch. This yarn has got a nice sort of smoothness to it, and it keeps slipping out of my fingers. So 2 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And now we're going to create the little point. We are going to work an extended double crochet into the next stitch. Then we're going to slip stitch to the background. So I want it to kind of be right here in the corner. So I'm going to grab this loop in the corner and slip stitch. So complete the entire extended double crochet, or treble. If you want to use a treble crochet, you can. Complete the entire extended double crochet, then slip stitch, attach. And then into the same stitch, you're going to extend a double crochet again. So extended double crochet, slip stitch, attach, extended double crochet, all in the same stitch. And that is this part right here. You're attaching it to a corner loop. That is the top point of the leaf. Hi, Lala. Lala's here, and she's headed out, but she wanted to say hi. Hi! Okay, and now we're going to do everything we just did, but in reverse. So we're going to go 2 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So 2 double, a half, a single, a single. So exactly what we just did, but in reverse order. So 2 double crochet and 2 double crochet. And then a half double crochet and another half double crochet in the stitch after that, and then a single crochet and a single crochet. So 2 double, a half, a single, a single. So now we're coming back down the other side. Here we go. Single crochet, attach into the next stitch. Start a single crochet, lay it flat, see where it wants to land. I'm going to use this front facing loop right here. There we go. And attach. So single crochet, attach in the next stitch. Single crochet into the next 4 stitches. Okay. Single crochet, attach in the next stitch. So you start it, lay it flat, see where it lands. This looks good right here. And single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So just to recap, we went after the extended double crochet, slip stitch, join, extended double crochet in the same stitch, which is the point. We went 2 double crochet, 2 double crochet, half double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, single crochet. Then single crochet, attach, single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches, single crochet, attach, single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And now we're going to single crochet, attach again. So we're shaping our leaf, and now we're kind of at the back side. We're almost to the point where we're going to add the little stem. So single crochet, attach, single crochet into the next stitch. And now we want to make a stem. So if you are just a little bit ahead of this corner, you can single crochet into the next stitch and sort of steal it from this side. Or if you are more into the corner, because it depends on kind of where you finished your row, as long as you're right about at this corner, you're going to single crochet into the stitch that's basically right at this corner and create the stem. Chain 3, slip stitch into a front facing loop, probably over top of that first big chain 2 space. So slip stitch to join. Then you're going to slip stitch back through each of those 3 chains that you just made. So you're slip stitching through the chains. And then you're going to single crochet back into the same stitch. So single crochet into a stitch. Once you get around to this sort of, this is all single crochets through here, but you want to make sure you're joining every 5th stitch. When you get down here, you want to make sure you're kind of in the stitch of your leaf that's basically in the pointing at the corner. Single crochet, chain 3, slip stitch, join, slip stitch back through those 3 stitches, those 3 chains, and then single crochet back into the same stitch. So you've just made this. You've just made your stem. These are all single crochets. You're joining every 5th stitch, and then you make your little stem. Your stem is joined in the corner, back down here, and then you're going to single crochet attach. So you want to single crochet attach in the next stitch. And then it's basically just single crochets all the way back to where you started. I recommend that you single crochet in the false stitch as well, because we don't want that, we chained 1 and started with a single crochet, but you can sort of just work an extra single crochet into that false stitch. You want to cover off that chain 1. Slip stitch to join. Your exact stitch count isn't important. What is important is that you've kind of got this leaf shape on the diagonal. Take a moment to kind of pull out the leaf point, pull out the stem so that the stem looks like it wants to lie in that corner. And you've got this leaf shape. There's your stem, here's your point, and they sit on the corners. Everything else is just sort of creating that shape. Don't worry about the stitch count. You want to make sure that you've joined like every 5th stitch so that it doesn't want to come off. Then you can fasten off and weave in that tail. And I'm going to show you how to do this little bit of embroidery. It's totally optional. You do not have to do embroidery. If you've done like a bright red leaf like this one, or maybe you've got a multicolored yarn that's like orange and red and yellow, you probably don't even need to add any vein details. I'm going to show you how to do this really simple embroidery detail, but you could also do this by surface chaining if you wanted to just crochet and make it a little more substantial. It's entirely up to you. So I'm gonna bring it in from behind, and I'm gonna weave my tail in, excuse me, through some of the stitches in this last row. And I'm going to double back. This is kind of a soft, slippery yarn, so I don't want it to come undone. So all the way in, sort of underneath 4 or 5 stitches in one direction, and then I'm going to double back and go through the same stitches, but overshoot where I started. There we go. And I'll just finish it underneath these. Okay. Ooh, all right. Take a moment to pull out the stem, pull out the little point. You should have a definite sort of birch shaped leaf, one of those nice sort of oblong leaves that comes to a point and has a little stem, and you know, in whatever color you like. If you are working left-handed, it'll probably be sitting to this, like on this angle. If you're right-handed, it'll be on this angle. Doesn't matter, leaves fall in every different possible angle on the lawn. Let's do some embroidery really quick. So this is optional. You don't have to include veins. If you're going for more of that kind of boho simplicity that the rest of these in the series have, then I think it's pretty obvious that that's a leaf. You know, you've got your pumpkin, your sunflower, your acorn, but I really just like a little bit of this extra embroidery. I'm going to make my embroidery a little snugger this time, and this is how we do it. So, orange or yellow, guys? Should I use orange or yellow for the veins? This is the orange that I used here on this red, and I think it would probably stand out just fine on this one too. But I've also got yellow. I don't know. What do you think? Orange or yellow? Sing out in the chat and I'll see what the general aggregate response is. Amanda's wondering if plain square would go well with these. Of course, of course. You could do this just the same basic background. of the first 3 rows are round, and then you square it off in row 4, and then you add rows 5 and 6 of just strange, like plain double crochet. So basically think of this, but without any of the back loop or front loop only work. And you can do one of 2 things. You can make it a polka dot. So like, you know, the first 3 rows are a solid color, and then the last 3 rows are a different color, or just make the whole thing a solid color. Maybe you've got like a nice tweed or a variegated. Maybe you want to do a few solid colored squares of a variegated that you might be using for, you know, one of your fancy things like a leaf. And just intersperse them, just like a checkered quilt, you know? Absolutely. We've got yellow, yellow, orange, 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 yellow, orange, yellow, yellow, orange, orange, orange. Rolling pumpkins. I love that. Rolling pumpkins. Okay, Jojo, Caroline, Destiny, hello, hello. We've got, looks like it's going to be orange. So, all right, let's do orange. And you know what? That's fine because it'll match this one too. So here we go. I'm going to take, do I have enough of this? No, probably not. So I'm going to take, I don't know, 24 inches. That'll probably be more than I need, but that's okay. I use every single scrap so far this year in our calendar unblanket. I've been using all my little scraps up, every tiny little scrap. Scraps even shorter than this. I worked into that magic ball of the background for the October unblanket. So you don't, you know, keep your scraps. They always come in handy somewhere. Thread up your yarn needle. And we are going to start down here. So I'm also going to keep sort of showing this one because it's very obvious, the orange on the red. You've got your stem, you've got your point. You want to bring your yarn in from the wrong side. The wrong side is the back of the square. Right here, between those 2 single crochets, right or at the base of your stem. So there's the top of your stem, there's the base of your stem. Bring your yarn in from there and leave a little tail out to the back so you can knot it later. I'm going to hold on to it. Then you're going to go all the way in a straight line up to the base of the extended double crochets over here. So you're not going to go all the way up to the top. You're just going to go through to the base of the extended double crochet. So if you hold on to that little tail and tug that, not too tight, but kind of snugly, it won't be loose on you. And now, so that's the main vein that runs up the middle. Now we're going to do 3 sets of these little kind of like chicken feet. We're going to back up to, so this is row 1, this is row 2. In the bottom of edge of row 2, bring your hook or your needle out through a space between stitches at the base of row 2, and it'll look like that on the back. Not a big deal. I'm just going to keep that. I want this to be a little snug, but I can always tighten this up by pulling on this one when I'm done. Come up on, say, the left side of that line, but you're going to go to the right. And you're going to go up on an angle. And at the base of, say, the double crochets to the right. So come up on the left side, but stitch on an angle to the right. Then bring your hook back or your needle back out through the exact same space, but on the other side of that main middle strand. So now on the right side, and you're going to go on an angle to the left. So it looks like this on the back so far. It's not that messy. And you can always tighten up your main line by pulling on that little thread, but we're going to do that at the end. So what you've done is you've created one long line. You've brought your yarn in down here on one side and gone this way. Come up through the exact same place on the other side of this main line and then gone the other way. So you see this nice little wrapping effect that will also help keep it in place. Then, because you're already kind of off the main line, I'm going to hop down. I want my next set to kind of sit like, you know, here and here. So maybe I want my next one to come out here. So I'm still at the top edge of row 2 or the bottom edge of row 3. And now, same thing, I'm coming back down to the middle line, but I want to cross over it. I'm going to go down, say, here, maybe right through the very middle. That's the middle of the cinch circle. And then I'm going to come up. So I look across. I'm going to go over here. And then I'm going to come back down through the same space, but on the other side of the main string. So what you're doing is you're always kind of like wrapping over top of it, whether you're coming up through the bottom or going down through the top. And this helps to keep that main line snug in its spot. And it also gives you this kind of this neat wrapping effect. So now you've come back down through the middle. So you're going to go back over here. I like to start maybe right down here, and then I'm going to do two nice long ones in this direction. So I'm going to come out on the left side and go to the right, maybe up here. And then come back through the same place, but on the right side and go to the left. And right here. There we go. Then I'm going to take this, tug on it a bit, because I want all of these to be somewhat snug. I made this one a little looser, but I like that to be a little snugger. And then of course it's not going to want to snug, a little more snug. Snugger is not a word. Okay. Then I'm just going to bring this thread up here. And I'm going to bring this one to the same place roughly. So I'm going to pop that over here. Make sure that they're both snug. Nothing is loose on this side. Looks good. Then I'm going to knot these two ends together, trim whatever's unnecessary, and weave in these tails, unless I don't care, and then I could just leave them out, but I will weave them in eventually. And you would just weave them in on the backs of, say, the leaf color. But there you go. If yours is a little loose, like this one, you do this. Undo the knot if you've knotted it. If you haven't knotted it, don't worry, you don't have to do this part. And then so that's your main one. If you pull on that, it'll tighten this one up. And then, so where was my last? This was my last one. So I'm going to slowly pull all of these to tighten them up back here. And I think I know that one. You're basically just sort of working through it, finding where like your first stitches were, tugging on those to make sure that they get, like this one's got to come down here, and then this one comes back here, and I tighten that one up. And there we go. And then that one once more. There, so I've tightened up those ones. And then same thing, I can bring them through to, you can go here. And you can go here. And then you knot them up, trim whatever's unnecessary. And again, you can weave in your tails now or a little later. And then, so if you find that you get through all of the embroidery and you've been kind of timid, and you feel like it's a bit loose, that's how you can just tighten it up. Kind of gently tug on all those lines until you get them to a nice sort of, and then I've got all this extra yarn, so I'll just trim that. I'll weave those tails in later. And there we go. I'm never really finished shaping, depending on the thickness of your yarn. So the red yarn I used was a little bit thicker than this yarn. So of course this leaf looks bigger, this leaf looks a little smaller. This is a bit snugger in the embroidery. This one's a little bit looser or a little bit like more longer. So I just love it. You get this completely different look. And then of course when you're putting the whole thing together, you can decide, you know, if you want your leaves facing one way or the other. Maybe they've fallen one up, one down. One pattern, change the color, leave on the embroidery, skip the embroidery, do surface chaining, don't do surface chaining, change the colors, use a tweedy color. You can just get such a different look with just one granny square. Oh my gosh, I just love this. Oh, okay. Are there any questions? Dawn likes the orange. I'm glad because I think it looks pretty good. It's also subtle. It's got a little bit of orange in there. So it kind of looks like it's already pulling that color out of the leaf. This one just really shows off sort of the concept of the vein. This one, you know, and I have red leaves. I wish I had brought some in, but I've got red leaves that have yellow, like the vein itself has gone yellow. It just looks so amazing. So that's why I was considering yellow, because I literally have red leaves out there with yellow veins, but I kind of like the subtlety of the orange. There's the Boho isn't necessarily about crazy bright colors. Boho kind of has a little bit more of an earth mother feel to it. I'm thinking in terms of like that 70s boho look. So I mean, go crazy with the colors if you want, but this is kind of the general look I'm kind of going for. So for example, I feel like that orange suits with this color palette. This one's a little bit wild, but the rest of these colors kind of all go with it. Questions? Everybody's happy with the leaf. Jojo loves the way the leaf and the veins look. Thank you, Vima. Thank you so much, Vima. Yes, Joanna, the orange is bringing out the orange in the leaf. Exactly. Kind of a, you know, good choice. I think that worked out really well. So that is the boho leaf. My goodness. That is 4 live streams in a row where we did 4 brand new designs. I just love this little series. The pumpkin, the sunflower, the little acorn, big acorn. If I was a squirrel and I found an acorn that big, I would be really happy. I've just had so much fun making these. And I'm still kind of considering a few more. I don't know. I worked very hard on trying to make a maple leaf, but I just could not get a maple leaf shape that I liked. So I might shelve that idea for a little while, because if you ever sit and try to work on something and you get to the point of frustration, shelve it. Do not try to work through the frustration on a project, because I feel like you will just stitch that frustration into your work, and you'll either start to resent the project or you'll make more mistakes than necessary. So if you're frustrated, just shelve it. Go back to it when you've got a clear mind and you've had a good night's sleep, and maybe you feel refreshed in the design world. And that goes for anything. If you're just working on a project and like the instructions just aren't making sense to you, it could be that you're hungry, tired, preoccupied, stressed out. It could be a billion things. So take a break, shelve it, and go back to it later. Yeah, Jojo, I'm pretty sure this is called Forest Floors. It was a Red Heart Super Saver, and I think it's called Forest Floor. And I just love it. It is so pretty. It's also really, really soft. And it's got like all these greens and reds and oranges, it's browns. It's just the nicest combination of fallish hues. I just think this one's absolutely gorgeous. I wish I had more of it. Okay, my dears, I am going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, today's boho leaf pattern is on sneaky sale in the shop. Thank you so much if you've picked it up, and to everybody who's gone ahead and picked up some of the other squares in this entire little project. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all our family members. I will include chapters in today's live stream, so give it about 20 minutes to half an hour. And then if you're back to watch it, you can just find it by the row. I try to include all the row counts, materials, intro, outro, final thoughts, all that stuff. I try to include as many chapters as I can. So if you're looking for something specific, you can pop forward or backwards, however you find you want to watch the video. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the description or down below in the comment section below the description box. If you can't find the description box, click on the title of the video. So depending on the software, sometimes if you click on the title of the video, it'll open up the description box. I do not know why YouTube keeps changing things, but there you go. And as always, you can always pop into the shop and ask questions there, and we'll be sure to get back to you. So have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Have a safe and crafty week. Keep an eyeball on the tabs page, the posts tab. I will be posting all sorts of kind of fun things there because we are headed into a busy season. So I got lots and lots and lots of inspiration for y'all. And we'll see you Friday. Failing that, we'll see you Friday. Have a great week. Take care. Stay safe. Stay crafty. Big hugs and kisses to you all. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys.